we are at the Beaulieu. This is going to be amazing. The first stop on this little adventure to the south is a place Bex would love, because you all know how much she loves museums, and we are at a motor museum. And if that sounds underwhelming, stick with us, because the village itself looks absolutely gorgeous. It's like picture postcard nauseatingly perfect. So we're going for a wee look there as well, and we're going to go and say hello to some horses. For the first part of this adventure, I'm heading south, and it's far south. We're heading down to Hampshire and the New Forest, which is right down at the very bottom bit of England. Yes, and as Bex and De Niro aren't here, the roles are being played by Richard, who is very shy and saying, if you point that camera at me, I'm going to insert it in you. Hi, Richard! But of course, first, there's a queue. It is quite a big queue moving quite slowly. Unfortunately, Richard now has to go for a bit of a lie down because he's from Yorkshire. You think Scottish people are tight? Well, he's from Yorkshire, and it was £27.50 each. So that'll traumatise him for the rest of the day, and now neither of us can afford to eat anything. First things first. Although it is quite expensive to get in, just found out there's actually the Beaulieu Abbey and a house to explore, so there's lots of history here as well as the motor museum. And there's also something on the war, that sort of wartime experience, so we're going to go for a wee look at that as well. This might actually turn out to be a lot more interesting than I thought. Oh, and at some point today we do have to go for a ride on the old bus. How cool is that? The answer is of course very, if you like old buses. If you don't, then not very. Okay, let's do this. As you know, you love our botany recognition. Today it's going to be car recognition. That's an old one, a slightly less old one, a slightly newer one, a really old one, and two white ones. There you are. Don't say we don't give you all the information here on Scotland on a shoestring. You're going to see our limits of our knowledge, because we know that's a Beetle, that's a Mini, and beyond that, no idea. And those are motorbikes. That is the oldest self-propelled thing in the world. That is the great-granddaddy of all cars and things. It's and it's made out of wood and brass. Proper engineering. It's funny how things go round in circles, because there's a question from 1908. Steam, petrol or electricity? I think steam. I think all cars should be steam powered. A steam powered fire engine, that's quite ironic. So the fire engine could burst into flames at any moment. But again, everything is so cool. We do love all the old brass and metal and all the skill that went into making these things. That's amazing, that one. Yeah, there are quite a lot of cars here. If you're not mad into vintage automobiles, which to be fair, I don't think I am, this might get old quite quickly, but hey-ho, let's have a look at a few more and see if we can find anything interesting. The tour guide down there is doing tour guide stuff, and he just said that car down there, which is a Porsche, is insured for 20 million quid. I won't drop my camera on top of it. Wouldn't want to chip the paintwork. To be fair, even if you're not into motor racing, they are amazing looking machines. And there's so much phone footage of this place, you're not going to believe it. People just take hours and hours of video, and I bet they don't even show it to you guys, they just go home and look at it. So lots of this will involve people holding their hands up in front of me and me glowering. And I appreciate you've had enough of racing cars, so here's something completely different. It's some racing motorbikes. Yeah, sorry. Okay, motorcycle recognition, a blue and white one, a red one, and a silver one. There you are. But a lot of it is from days before health and safety. How do you fancy a wicker side chair? That's quite smart. Okay, it's another car, but this one's interesting if you're a movie buff. That is actually Chitty Chitty Bang Bang from the film of the same name. That was called Chitty Chitty Bang. Yeah, I know, I did that deliberately. So if that car over there was the original Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, then what is that? Chitty Chitty Bang Bang Bang? And over there's a really cool little thing, that's the Outspan Orange. I remember that again from my past. There's still a few of them dotted about. And I wonder what's around here. I'm guessing it's going to be lots more cars. When we get to 1 million subscribers, we're going to buy one of these and we're going to rally it. Okay, at the moment we can't get to 3,000, but hey ho, 1 million's not that far away. That's probably the most iconic vehicle that we've seen yet, and it's a bus. It is, to be fair, very nice. Oh, that's like something off the television programme Thunderbirds. If you don't know it, look it up. It involved puppets. but that was the first car to go over 200 miles an hour, 1,000 horsepower from 2 aeroplane engines in the front. I bet that was quite loud. I remember hearing this before about the Citroën 2CV. It was designed to transport 2 peasants, a bag of potatoes and some eggs across a ploughed field without anything breaking. I'm reading that from that sign, I'm not making it up, but it's an interesting story. It's a great wee car. I love the 2CV, but it's probably about the least safe thing in the world. Yeah, the food place is now open, but the ordering process leaves a bit to be desired. They've got an app that doesn't work, and then you go and stand in a queue and forget your table number and have to go and find your table number and then go back into the queue. It's not ideal, but hey ho. But it's also 16 quid for fish and chips and a bottle of Coke. So we're giving you consumer information on the prices. We're mostly complaining about the prices. Okay, fair play, that actually looks not bad, but let's find out. Well, on average that was okay because the peas were very undercooked and the fish was very overcooked, so on average it was all cooked properly, although none of it actually was. It's a bit noisy in here, but that is Bluebird. That's another British icon and the first car to go over 400 miles an hour. One of the main reasons I came here was to see Bluebird, and we walked past it, but it's in twice. I had to go back in and find it. We're not very good and I'm a rubbish tour guide. This area is all cars from film and television, and there is Mr Bean's Mini, which shouldn't be my favourite but probably is. Beyond that, if you know the television programme Only Fools and Horses, that is their Reliant van. But my favourite one is down here because I was in my youth a big fan of Doctor Who, and I had no idea that Bessie was still alive. But this was, as well as the TARDIS, the Doctor travelled in Bessie, which I didn't know was a kit car, but that is that's cool. And then down this end, for fans of Harry Potter, which there are bound to be hundreds of you, there's a Jaguar with a machine gun. And there is Mr Weasley's flying car. I like this bit more than I like the other bit. Right, I think that's enough old cars. We're going to go and look at the Abbey now. Yes, Richard, we are. There's that rather nice old bus again that you can go for a ride on. And a nice friendly driver, man. So this is the Priory here at Beaulieu, however you pronounce it. And it's another thing that is in this shape because of the Protestant Reformation. It was a Catholic priory, and then in the 1500s the Protestants took over and demolished all the old buildings. So bits of it survived over there, survived because it was still in use for something else, but apart from that it was all destroyed. So you have to close your eyes and imagine what this might have looked like. And amongst the ruins of the old priory there are modern artwork. This one is called Catching Nature's Gift. And not, as Richard just said, boobies. And you have to look at this one for a couple of seconds to figure out what's going on, but it's called Backstroke. It is a lady swimming, and at first I thought she had no head, but I don't know how her foot is up there, and I have no idea. You figure it out, it's art. And we are in the quadrangle, which at one point I guess would have been covered over like the ones that we've seen in other places, so there would be a nice sheltered walkway around the edge and an open and grassy bit in the middle. This is really pretty, and once again that big shiny thing up in the sky is doing us a bit of a favour. Oh, and this apparently is an old bookcase, but there's an interesting inscription on the back there. I did not know this place was used during the Second World War to train people who would then get put back into Europe to fight the Nazis. So they come across here and resistance fighters would get trained and equipped and then sent back to a very, very uncertain future. We're still inside that square, but that's the steps up to the old monks' dormitory. And it's got one of our favourite little things over here. All the little architectural elements that survived destruction are all stacked up here, out of the way, but still very pretty, and I think very, very worth a wee look. That answers the question of how they survived. It was the old monks' rectory, then it became the parish church. So because the Protestants took it over, it was not demolished. I'm now going to shut up and see what it's like inside. Oh, another magnificent organ. This next little exhibition is on the Secret Army. Sorry, on you go. I keep getting in people's way. And it's all about the Special Operations Executive during the Second World War, who did all sorts of skullduggery and undercover stuff. The SOE was set up in 1940 to support the resistance organisations in occupied Europe. Agents were brought across to the UK, given special training and lots of special equipment, and then dropped back into their own countries to do as much damage as they could. And these brave men and women, because a lot of them were women, worked as radio operators or transported armaments or even undertook sabotage themselves. It was a very, very exciting life, you would imagine, but if you got caught by the Germans, a very short one. Now, given all the funny gadgets that they had, I wonder if that's where the word Gubbins comes from, and all that Gubbins. That tiny little thing there is called a Stinger. It's a gun with one shot. It's got one bullet in it, and it was to be used as a last resort. You can use your imagination what that was for then. You tend to think of things like this being unisex, but that there is a lady's knuckle duster. Obviously much more delicate than a man's knuckle duster, probably just as painful. There's a lot more sculpture here. There's a very nice horse over there that you can see, and then here is this rather large and impressive horse's head. This stuff is all really nice. I wonder if somebody's got the job of polishing it, because they're all quite shiny. So because we couldn't resist, we are now inside the big house. Let's see what we can see. I can't do too much talking in here because I look like even more of an idiot than usual. We've got some pictures in our hallway, but they're not quite as impressive as those ones. That's quite... fancy a painting like that on your wall, Richard? This is obviously the dining room, if you've got lots of friends. And if you get bored with the conversation, you can just look at the architecture. Are we going into the kitchen? You already know that we are. We love these old kitchens. This is very much like the one in Calendar House in Falkirk, and there is the bells where they could get summoned from upstairs by the rich people, and down here is where the poor people would do all the work. Oh, it's a flight of stairs. You know what that means. Fast forward. And unfast forward. Oh wow, this is really cool. And there's another thing that we find a lot on our travels. Taxidermy. Okay, now we are in the upper drawing room, which is a mixture of very modern looking artworks and very, very old and impressive looking bits. I'd love to meet the man that's been putting this together recently to know what his acquisition policy is, because some of this stuff is brilliant, some of it is less brilliant. Children's toys haven't changed much, I suppose, if you like that sort of stuffed animal, but these days it'd all be Xbox and all that stuff. I'm really showing my age by saying that. Oh, and there's a secret staircase, so let's go down the Duke's back passage. Oh, secret staircase, secret staircase. Talk! That is just misleading. And this is the house's library. I love the fact that we've got all the really clever arty pictures downstairs from the 1700s, and then up here we've got a sort of 1960s vibe going on. Hasn't dated quite as well. Oh, this is an exhibition of the present, whatever it is, Duke or Marquis or whatever, his mother's art, which is interesting, I suppose, if you like that sort of thing. And there's some clothes. It does look a bit like a display from a charity shop, but I'm sure it's not. Even Bex wouldn't buy any of that in a charity shop. That is the big house. I don't know where the Marquis lives now. I don't think it's here because it's open to tourists, and the sign above the door says, "The Lord preserve thy going out and thy coming in." Here's a piece of modern sculpture that we do like, as you know. It's like a miniature kelpie, but it's made out of bits of steel with lots of everything's a letter. There's S's and G's, and you know your alphabet. I don't have to tell you what the letters are, but anyway, lots of letters and even some punctuation. There you are. That's quite an impressive big shiny metal horse. Oh, I think it might be time for a wee ride on the monorail, unless it goes before we get up these stairs. Oh, it doesn't say closed. Fast forward. We've got the company of Lord Montague on this journey. He is whittering on in my ear via a speaker. I wish he'd shut up, to be honest. We're now going through the National Motor Museum. This is okay. I'll give you this. I didn't notice this when we were in there. This is quite cool. There's that really fast car, and there is the fastest steam-powered car in the world. Yep, steam-powered. And there's lots of other cars. Yeah, I can't really say much about cars. There's green ones and blue ones, and there's a purple and white one, and there's a red one. I hope you're keeping up with all this, because there'll be questions later. Oh, there's a yellow one, there's a yellow one! Yeah, that's the cars, and there's another car, and that was the cars. I hope you all enjoyed the cars. And there's some grass. Keep away from anyone standing in the town. You know that we do like wood carvings, and how is that for a wood carving? Out of a solid tree up there is a griffin. I think that's a griffin. I'm not an expert on my heraldry or mythological whatsits, but I think that is definitely a griffin. And of course, exit via the gift shop. That's more cleaning products than I've got in my bathroom. Oh no, wait till Richard sees this. Did I mention he's got a thing about BMWs? So we have come away from the museum and house and things, and we've come down to have a quick look at the village. And it will be a quick look because we've still got quite a long drive heading south after this, but this place, we came through it this morning and it looks absolutely amazing. I think you guys are going to love it. This area is called the New Forest, and it's famous for, well, it's famous for horses mostly. The New Forest ponies are about the only thing that I know the New Forest for. Well, that and Beaulieu Motor Museum. Yeah, no donkeys unless accompanied by a sheep. There are donkeys walking about wild. We just saw a few. But this is like the little main street through the village. Lots of old red brick houses, all very grand. And lots of nice little boutique shops that Bex would love. I'll have to bring her back here one day, maybe not for the motor museum, but certainly for the chocolate, the coffee and the wee boutique shops, where, as you know, she looks but does not generally buy anything.
I'm having an ice cream.
You're having an ice cream?
It's ice cream time.
He's certainly a bit more decisive than Bex. So amongst the little boutique art shops and yet another tea and coffee place, there's a really impressive pub just round this corner that we passed on the way in. It's all the Tudor influences and the amazing brickwork. This is such a pretty little village. It's not overly busy at the moment. It's quite busy, but it's not horrendous. It just looks so nice. Again, another row of those little houses. And then over behind it, they've got the village pond. So every village should of course have a pond. This is quite sad. There are posters all over the place for somebody's lost their little cockapoo, so I don't imagine any of our followers would be in the local area and have seen it, but that's a real shame. Knowing how much we love De Niro, that must be really painful not to know what's happened to the little chap. This place is just full of nice little architectural touches. That is the Montague Arms Hotel, also known as Monty's, for obvious reasons. Richard went into the first ice cream shop that he saw over there, but that is an ice cream shop. And that is an ice cream shop. Of course, I'm not having an ice cream because Bex isn't here, and that wouldn't be fair. Honest, I'm not. And at the top of this wee road, with a far too big truck going through, there's the pub we were just looking at. Like this over here, they've got a barrel of doggy brew outside for doggies. It's water, obviously, and Richard has got his ice cream. It's all a bit on the nice side. Not quite ready to use the phrase picture postcard perfect yet, but it's definitely getting there. Obviously this is quite far south in the UK, so it would have been fear of invasion during the Second World War, and there's a little concrete blockhouse that is hidden inside that little building attached to that slightly bigger building over there. Having just read that sign over there, this is part of quite a clever arrangement of defences, because there was 2 pillboxes that had their gun ports visible, but there were more that were hidden. So if you were a German coming up here, you'd see that with his gun port and you think, pillbox, and you'd try to attack it. But there's pillboxes that you couldn't see that were invisible and disguised as houses, from which you would meet an untimely end. But if you wanted picture postcard, then this is a private slipway, so we're not allowed into it, and there's lots of signs around this part of the world saying things like private and keep out. But anyway, they don't have Scotland's enlightened access laws. Down here there's lots of private property, but that's a nice view. There is the lake or the pond and the little slipway, and yeah, this is a really pretty wee place. Well, that's another ugly wee house, and there's an ugly old courtyard with an ugly big car in it, and yeah, it's a pretty impoverished area this. There's not much sign of affluence or money. Yeah, right. Oh, and over there is the horse's head that we saw earlier, so we're at the back of the big house. So this again is just outside the village. The house we were looking at earlier is over there. And this is just, it's just gorgeous, isn't it? It's just incredible. What a beautiful part of the world. I had no idea this was like this. I've never been here apart from working, in which case I didn't really stop. I just worked and then went home again. We saw a sign back there about no unaccompanied donkeys in the shop. Well, they are actually just wild, or as close to wild as donkeys get. They don't look very wild, but that one down there does look very cute. Sorry, that was a bit high pitched. Hello, donkey donk donk. Yes, baby donkeys, cute. Oh, Bex, can I buy a new car? Can I get a new car that looks like that, Bex? Can I buy one of those, or one of those? Go on. So that's us. That is apparently it's called Beaulieu, although I think it's got far too many letters for that. Anyway, that is that place done. It's very nice. The Motor Museum was okay. The big house in the Abbey were brilliant, and the wee village is just so picturesque. So yeah, onwards and southwards. Not that there's much more south to do. We're just about at the very bottom of Britain. The little donkeys are still eating their breakfast of grass. Right, we're now going to drive out of Beaulieu. So I'll
Lavatories. It's called lavatories. It's posh round here.
Oh yeah, the bogs here are called lavatories. It's very posh. There's me. Hello. When we came along here the first time, there were loads of horses, and now they've all gone and hidden. But I think there's it's either horses or cows. It might be the famous New Forest cows. Yeah, that's cattle. Yep, those are not horses. The horses have all gone away and hidden. So you'll have to take the presence of New Forest ponies from me. Oh, there's one. You can just see the top of its back. You didn't see anything there, did you? You just saw me pointing at something. Now you'll have to believe me, that was a pony. And just as we were about to leave the New Forest, some of the local celebrity ponies put in an appearance. So with that guest star to end this little episode of Scotland on a Shoestring, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon for more. And if you're wondering where De Niro has been while Bex has been at work and I've been off exploring the south of England, well, he's got an amazing dog walker who comes and takes him out for big adventures with his very, very small friends.